Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the WolfCast, the official Slam North podcast here at Slam North, obviously. And we are here today with two very special guests, two administrators. First of all, we're here today with Mr. Roque, the one and only Mr. Roque, the host of the show. We're also here today with, first time on the show, Mr. Lazo, the Dean of Discipline. And he's kind of mad today. Mr. Lazo, how you doing today?
I've had better days, sir. I've had better days.
Mr. Lazo has had better days. We're also here with Mr. Calvo, an administrator himself. Mr. Calvo, are you having a bad day today on this Wednesday morning?
No, I'm
Is
good.
it a bad day?
It's a good day so far. Can't complain. The usual, it seems like.
So Mr. Calvo is good cop, and
Good
you're
cop, bad cop.
Mr. Lazo's bad cop.
I've gotten used to that.
And an issue, obviously, I think I know your issue today. We have somebody, we have certain students wearing hoodies in the school, and that's obviously an issue. It's a school rule not to wear hoodies.
It's one of our founding rules of the school, sir, that dates back 6 or 7 years. That's the problem I have with it, that we keep violating it every day, no matter how many times a day we tell you, no matter what the temperature is. It could be 105 degrees, sir, and you'll still see students wearing a hoodie. That's my problem.
Okay, that's definitely fair enough. Today, not to take. I'm not taking the student's side at all. No, don't think I'm taking the student's side. But I will say, había frío. Laura's here, right? Laura's here, and she's a Spanish-speaking student. So I'm gonna say it in Spanish as well. Había frío hoy. Estaba como mucho frío en el micrófono.
It was 56 degrees.
It was
this morning.
56 degrees
It was
today.
also 56 degrees for me too, sir. And I have a collection of hoodies at home that I dine to wear. Have you ever seen me wearing one?
The answer to that is no.
Thank you.
I've worn it a couple of times, and you got me in trouble too, right?
Absolutely. I'll call you out on it. I'll call any staff member out on it. We have to lead by example.
That includes IDs as well, right? Which I'm wearing today. So,
Absolutely.
I'm dressed appropriate today.
Well, I don't know yet. I got to do a body search, sir. And
Whoa, what? All right, I think I'm fine today, to be
I
honest.
think you're good.
Mr. Calvo, this is your first year in the school.
Yes, it is.
Obviously, you implement the rules too. What do you think about the rules?
We gotta follow.
That's a short answer right there, and it's straight to the point.
Exactly. Short, sweet, to the point, and if they're not enforced, they will be.
Obviously, students don't always like rules, but what is the importance of rules to a school?
Culture.
It sets the coach. Mr. Calvo is a one-word answer type of guy today.
Oh, yeah.
That's how it is.
well, he's spot on, if you ask me. I mean, I can give you a more elaborate one, but you're not going to like it.
I actually would like it. Can you give me the more elaborate answer?
Rules have existed since the beginning of time, and rules are in place for there to be law and order. And if there is no law and order, you have bedlam. And as far as I'm concerned, as the dean of the school, and as the person that gets paid to make sure that everybody follows the rules are going to be followed. And if not, there's going to be consequences for not following the rules.
Which they're not kind of being followed right now, Mr. Roque.
How on a scale of 1 to 10, how is the school in terms of following the rules?
Honest?
Two.
Yes,
Yeah.
2.
that's really bad.
That's really bad.
Is that why we're cracking down this week, especially on
the coldest
rules,
week?
on
Yeah, most likely.
IDs and hoodies?
Yes.
The thing is that when you abuse and continue to abuse, and I'm sorry, man, I'm not having a good morning because it just feels like it's every day where I'm repeating myself, we're repeating ourselves about the no hoodie policy, et cetera, and it continues to be tested and pushed to the limit, and I'm at the limit.
We have a couple of students here who are
think we
they
should talk
are
about
they
the
are not
elephant
wearing
in the room.
hoodies, and they're
Absolutely.
Victoria's never worn a hoodie before in her life.
Absolutely, and that.
Hi, Victoria. How you doing? How are you doing today? And how do you feel about these rules? You've been in the school now. This is your second year in the school.
Yeah.
And what do you think about the rules?
Well, I guess like the IDs I can understand, but the hoodies not really because I owe a lot of hoodies. I don't really owe sweaters.
Fantastic. I'll explain it real simple.
And then no, I know the reason why.
Why?
Like I know it's because people can put their hoods on, and then after you're not gonna be able to like recognize it.
I know this generation doesn't watch the news much because you don't have to. You have it at the fingerprint of, or rather, the fingertips of your phones. But if you've noticed, the majority of the crimes that are being committed, the first thing that goes up is a hoodie to conceal someone's identity. So if someone's going to come into our school to do harm to us, the first thing they're going to do is conceal their identity. So if we have students wearing hoodies, plus the assailant that's coming into the school to do harm to us, also wearing a hoodie, how is our security staff, who, by the way, some of them are armed, how is our security staff expected to know the difference between the person that's coming to do harm to us or a student wearing a hoodie? You tell me. That could be a fatal decision. A fatal decision. If someone, God forbid, was to try and enter our school, the first thing they're going to do is put a hoodie on. And if we have kids wearing hoodies, how is our security personnel supposed to know the difference?
Let me bail her out here. real quick.
Victoria, reply. No, hold on. Victoria, reply now.
I have nothing to reply.
Victoria, I got you. If you reply right now, you get an A+.
Let me bail her out. Let me bail her out. Phone a friend. So I get that, but if someone's gonna do harm, they're gonna do harm either way. You know, that's
And
that's
your
that's.
point is what?
No. I'm trying to step in just to help her out a little bit.
Don't
keep
help
the
her out.
conversation
She
flowing.
needed an answer and she got one.
No, she got the answer. That's
got the
not what she's saying.
explanation, right.
There's a lot of students that say, well, why not have a Slam North specific hoodie that.
And how
we
is that
can
going to
wear?
fix the problem of our security staff being able to identify a perpetrator versus a student?
Well, because in the case that someone from outside the school is trying to do harm, then it's harder for them to just go unnoticed with just a simple plain old black hoodie.
Okay, what if our hoodie's also black? You're going to ask our security personnel to go ahead and get up close
That's why we gotta make it-
to the armed assailant, to get up close to the armed assailant to see if it's actually a black Slam hoodie or a black regular hoodie.
Hey, that's why we got to make a special neon green.
Let's use
hoodie.
common sense, guys. Common sense.
All right,
Common sense and
but
it's out the door.
for those who don't know, that was Mr. Dorado, who's here with us too, doing the audio. And Mr. Dorado has a unique experience. He was a student here for 7 years, and now he works here. So, Mr. Dorado, now that you work here, obviously you're still in the student mindset. I think you don't agree with the hoodie rule.
No, I mean I get why. I'm not oblivious to it. I do watch the news, but at the same time, it does get like crazier. I think maybe we should, instead of hoodies, maybe have like a thicker Slam sweater that they can wear on colder days. Other alternative options besides just the typical, Slam
That's a good idea.
sweaters.
That
you
has,
know what I mean?
So I think that's a fair point. Have you guys considered Slam sweaters? Maybe not hoodies,
like
but
a thicker sweater, not
because
just like
I've
the
I've
thin
heard
one.
certain students ask for that. A Slam sweater that's specific
Like
that
a
to Slam.
wind-
Like
more
on a
like
day
a
like
wind
today, I'm not gonna lie, it was less than 60 degrees. Even you guys admitted it. So,
55.
there you go.
I mean, we have to broaden our apparel, so I mean that's something.
No, for sure. I mean,
It has been, here, I'll put it this way. It has been discussed. It's part of continuing conversations and discussions. Whether or not that's going to settle anything, I'm not sure. Whether or not the administration is going to decide on allowing them, I'm not sure either. I hope not. Because again, if you ask me on whether or not I want to be warm or I want to be safe, I choose being safe.
So simple answer. It's already in the handbook. By you being here, you approved of the handbook, and the handbook clearly states no hoodies allowed. Point blank.
I love Mr. Calvo's answers today.
Oh,
He's just
yeah.
like straight to the point.
there's a lot of stuff in the handbook that isn't enforced, though. That's the thing.
And that's why we're doing what we're
If
doing,
you go,
Mr.
if you
Dorado.
go, if you go word for word, there's a lot of stuff we got to work on.
And that's why we're doing what we're doing, Mr. Dorado.
Now, obviously, the rules are the rules. So, what are the ramifications, rather, of not following the rules? What happens to a student like Laura today?
Well, for Laura, for example, after the show ends, she's going to go upstairs to the conference room and go be with Mr. Goris. And then we will handle it as a case-by-case basis.
Ok, so, Laura, no sé si entendiste exactamente bien. Dicen que después del show vas a ir arriba con Mr. Gorris y puede ser que te vayan a quitar el hoodie hoy, ¿verdad? Ok, Laura, okay, ¿qué piensas de esto? Dilo en español. En el show, con el podcast con nosotros. ¿Qué piensas de las reglas?
No sé, yo digo que pues sí, las reglas son para seguirlas, ¿no? Pero digamos que pueden como, ¿cómo se dice? Como
ten confianza, puedes decir
Tener
lo
un
que
poco de
quieras.
flexibilidad.
Eso, en estos días que está haciendo mucho frío.
Ok.
Tipo, obvio, eso no es excusa. Pero pues está haciendo mucho frío. Digamos, yo hoy, todos, digamos, el buzo que tenía ayer antier, que no tenía jury, se mojó porque llovió. Y hoy que lo puse a secar, anoche también como que lloviznó y se mojó. Y me tocó traerme este. Y cuando yo llegué acá, que estuve acá afuera, fue cuando yo me lo puse. Adentro no está haciendo frío. O sea, si yo estuviera adentro, no tuviera el jury.
Ok,
obvio, yo entiendo que-
Mr. Lazo, lo
Que
bueno...
ayer, ya va, digamos, ayer dejaron que trajeran juris.
Ayer no.
En Blooms salió eso. En Blooms
No,
salió.
no, eso no salió en Blooms, para decirte la
Sí.
verdad. No, ese mensaje no fue, lo leíste mal.
Bueno,
Nunca dejan.
yo pregunté, sí.
Not that I remember.
No, el mensaje fue no hoodies y tienen que tener los IDs.
Sí.
Ese fue el mensaje.
Yo
Pero,
hablé con Celeste y había dicho
Pero
eso.
yo pienso también que tu punto de vista tienes razón, pero Mr. Lazo, lo bueno de Mr. Lazo es que él no solamente habla firme en inglés, pero habla firme en español. Entonces, algunas veces me mete miedo a mí también, pero Mr. Lazo, vamos a ver.
So, Laura, el problema es este. Y quiero primeramente indicar de que Laura, desde que el inicio que yo la conocí, que empezó en el colegio, era una violación de uniforme todos los días.
Es
Todos
verdad.
los días.
Es verdad.
Pero ha mejorado muchísimo. Ya yo no tengo que llamarle la atención tantas veces. So, yendo para atrás, Laura, a lo que tú dijiste. Okay.
Van a
Si
estar
nosotros
confiscados.
si nosotros tomaremos la decisión de permitirlo los días que hace frío, ¿dónde es que pones el dedo y dices, el frío es a partir de esta temperatura?
Pues sabemos
So-
que los fríos dan estos días, ¿no?
Como a
Tipo,
50,
sale
si está a
acá.
50, se puede, si no, no. 50 por...
El problema,
Tipo, ok,
el problema
puede
es
ser,
que
él tiene razón. Pero digamos, por lo menos, si hay clases que son afuera. Tipo, las clases que son afuera hace mucho frío. Si tú me tocas la nariz, la tengo fría. Las manos las tengo frías porque tengo mucho frío.
Yo también tengo las manos frías ahora mismo.
Exacto.
y no creo que un hoodie te va a calentar la nariz.
Es verdad.
Se pueden poner guantes,
Se pueden poner guantes, que yo sepa, sí.
gloves.
Que yo no tuviera problema.
¿Por qué no tienes guantes, Laura?
Yo estoy disponible a comprarle guantes al colegio entero por tal de no ver un hoodie más.
Ok, otra cosa. ¿Cuál es la necesidad de confiscar el buzo?
Confiscar, bueno, si no... ya,
Obvio,
no,
si
no
uno
puedo,
sigue
no puedo
las-
responder.
Si uno no sigue las reglas, hay que tener una consecuencia. Ok, lo entiendo.
Obviamente.
Pero,
Bueno, el
¿cuál es la
problema, el
necesidad?
problema es que si en el aeropuerto te dicen, las reglas del aeropuerto es cuando uno va a tomar un viaje no puede llevar shampoo o cosas embotelladas. Si lo llevas y te registran la maleta, que casi siempre te lo hacen, te confiscan todos los artículos. So, es mejor no traerlo que traerlo y nosotros tener que confiscarlo, porque entonces lo que pasa es lo siguiente. Si yo tengo, a mí no me gusta, ni a ti tampoco, a nadie le gusta tener que repetir algo miles y miles y miles de veces, porque ya estamos en las miles de veces. Es todos los días. Y vuelvo y te repito, el hecho, yo no quiero ver a nadie aquí pasar frío, pero tampoco quiero verme yo tener que repetirme la cosa de no juris miles y miles de veces. So, el problema es que hay estudiantes que son responsables y hay otros que son irresponsables, que le gustan siempre estar al borde de romper las reglas o tratar de romper las reglas. Porque está en su naturaleza, está en su crianza, no sé. ¿Tú me entiendes? A mí no, yo fui criado de una forma que a mí no me gusta que me llame la atención más de una vez. Si me llamaste la atención, ya con eso para mí es suficiente. Pero desgraciadamente no todo el mundo es igual.
es verdad.
Estoy de acuerdo con Mr. Lazo en ese sentido. A mí me encanta repetir las cosas, por eso soy maestro. Entonces... Bueno,
Entonces vamos a darte trabajito de hoodie,
The hoodie check.
inspector.
no, ya yo soy maestro, ya estoy bien de maestro. Ya estoy bien de maestro. One thing that I did notice while you were talking was, she's actually one of my favorite students, Victoria nodding her head no.
No,
About the airport. It was something about the airport. Victoria, you didn't like the analogy. Victoria, what happened there?
No, it's because like normally I always bring shampoo and like stuff like that on my back, and they never like.
there are certain items that you cannot take to an
It's by
airport.
size.
Pero eso es verdad, tipo, eso depende. Es como acá, si te van con el jury, te lo quitan. Si no te ven, no pasa nada. Es lo mismo con
Mira,
eso.
yo te voy a dar un ejemplo bien clarito. Yo, el centro de banco mío, mi banco es Bank of America, ¿ok? Y hay una sucursal en Hialeah, donde yo siempre visito para hacer mis necesidades bancarias. Hay un letrero afuera, en la puerta principal de la entrada, que dice, si usted piensa entrar acá adentro con espejuelos oscuros o un hoodie puesto, no lo vamos a permitir entrar.
O armas.
¿Ok? So, en ese momento, yo tengo la decisión tengo una decisión. Me quito los espejuelos y me bajo el hoodie para poder entrar y hacer mi necesidad bancaria, o busco otro banco que sí lo permita, que sí me permita entrar con espejuelo oscuro o con un hoodie. Lo mismo es aquí. Si no les gustan las reglas, hay otros colegios. Pero son las reglas y las reglas hay que seguirlas. Para eso existen reglas.
I'm gonna switch to English right now, real quick, and I wanna ask. So, if the ramifications that are in place now, they're not working. Obviously, on a scale of 1 to 10, we're at a 2 right now, right? Are further ramifications, like let's say a Saturday detention, because I don't want to be here on a Saturday. So if those are the further ramifications, you let me know, because then I will be like really, really, really strict.
Sir, at the previous school where I was previously employed, with Mr. Gariz and Celeste and a handful of other people that are at work here today, we had Saturday detentions, and I hosted the Saturday detentions once every month, and they worked to the T. They worked beautifully. They were a deterrent for students that wanted to violate the rules every time, and nobody wanted that growing list of Saturday detentions got less and less and less as each Saturday passed, because nobody, frankly, is. I remember back when I was a kid, you can give me whatever punishment that I deemed acceptable. The one that I did not deem acceptable was a Saturday detention, because I did not want to be at school on my weekends.
So, Roque, just for example, yesterday with the ID checks, roughly there was around 45 students. Today alone, it's around half. And that's just day 2.
That's a good start, right?
Right, and that's just day 2. So, a few more days, a few more weeks of cracking down, and we should be okay. And that's just on this front. Just wait till you see what's coming next week.
And by the
Whoa,
way,
whoa, hold on. That's I didn't like that, because
Yes.
he did that with a smile too. And what's coming next week?
that's the white elephant in the room. If I may, real quickly, I want to thank the students that do abide by the rules on a daily basis. I've never had to address myself to them. I personally wanted to send out a thank you to those students, because, again, that is the type of image, that is the culture that we are growing here at Slam North. And I don't want it to go unnoticed.
I want to ask another question. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much has Laura improved this year?
Laura has improved. We don't have to go this year. We can go from when I met Laura two or 3 years ago, right? Hace 2 o 3 años que te conocí.
Más o
¿Cuántos
menos,
años
sí.
llevas en el colegio?
Como 2.
Sí.
Es el segundo año en la
Sí,
escuela,
este
Laura.
es el segundo año.
Ok, so yendo para atrás para el primer día, hace 2 años, como les dije anteriormente, con Laura era una
Todos los
bendición.
días. Pero el primer día.
Estaba
el
rebelde.
primer día que yo llegué, o sea, que yo pisé el colegio, una semana en ¿sabes?
No
O sea, el
yo no
primer
sabía-
día.
Yo me acuerdo que
Yo
yo...
no sabía que ese fue el primer día que tú llegaste a este país.
No, yo llevo acá como 4 o 5 años.
Ya, pero al colegio de eso, ok.
Yo me acuerdo que iban a votar a Laura y todo, pero después no, pero...
Sí.
Laura
Hubo un
estaba
tiempo.
en la lista verbal o imaginaria de los estudiantes que quizás no iba a estar aquí mucho tiempo, por el hecho de que eso cansa, tener que estar repitiendo las cosas. Y para algunas personas es un chiste, decir, ya llegado el momento ya que para mí tener que hablar de hoodies es como hablar de la ex esposa mía.
Uy,
¿Qué quieres decir?
Un tema que no quiero ni tocar.
No, ¿estás seguro?
Seguro. Un tema que no quiero ni tocar. Ya apesta, tú sabes, tener que estar repitiendo las cosas over and over again. Entonces, en parte la culpabilidad está en nosotros, la administración, porque el castigo no ha sido suficientemente severo. Pero les prometo que eso va a cambiar.
Laura, ¿qué piensas si te dan detención el sábado por esto?
Uy,
¿Qué piensas?
Uy,
No puede haber un
yo
estudiante.
pienso, tipo, está bien, porque pues uno está incumpliendo una regla, debe haber un castigo. Pero
Wow.
no es la excusa, pero yo creo que está, o sea, tipo, por un jury, un sábado con este frío, no.
Bueno, y si,
Es muy severo ese castigo.
entonces,
Tipo, una cosa es estar acá afuera y otra cosa es estar allá adentro, porque
¿Cuál-
en la escuela uno no tiene excusa porque está haciendo calorcito.
¿cuál debe ser la penitencia de todo esto? Que te den, porque no quieres que te quiten el hoodie, no quieres detención en los sábados, entonces, ¿qué deben de hacer? Acuérdate que ellos tienen el trabajo de mantener disciplina en la escuela.
Sí, y
Entonces-
eso está bien porque, tipo, como Mr. Lazo siempre me decía, si uno no sigue la regla acá, ¿qué va a hacer cuando uno esté en un trabajo?
Es verdad.
O sea, está bien, pero...
y te acuerdas de eso?
digamos, sí.
Dilo otra vez, a ver si... Porque, mira, te van a meter en problemas. Si lo dices otra vez, puede ser que no...
No. Tipo, obviamente, tipo, algún castigo debe haber.
¿y qué piensa que debe ser?
Te quitan,
no sé,
te,
yo
te
no
quitan del
soy-
equipo de flag football.
Yo tengo una idea.
No,
Yo tengo
no
una
puede
idea.
ser. No,
Sí,
después...
Tengo una idea.
Es que, tipo, la excusa mía es que está haciendo mucho frío y estamos acá afuera.
Yo tengo una idea que se lo voy a presentar a la administración de establecer o de, mejor dicho, de crear un comité, no sé, no me gusta la palabra comité,
Un panel.
un panel
Un panel.
de estudiantes como Laura, creo que Laura fuera una de las indicadas, porque Laura ha estado en los dos lados del spectrum, como decimos. La estoy viendo madurar delante de mis ojos y me recuerdo realmente el día que le dije, porque es verdad, yo no fui de los estudiantes estos que siempre seguía las reglas, pero las reglas que rompía las rompía lo más discretamente posible, porque sabía que yo tenía un coronel en la casa llamada mi mamá, que medía 4 pies, 11 pulgadas, la pequeña gigante, le decía yo, y si yo rompía las reglas en la casa, pues era un palo escoba que me partía en la espalda. Las consecuencias eran mucho más severas en los tiempos que yo fui niño, en la crianza que a mí me dieron, pero algo no cambia. El día de mañana, esta juventud va a buscar trabajo, va a ir a buscar trabajo, va a aplicar para trabajos. Y no van a tener la misma paciencia con ellos que nosotros hemos tenido aquí en el colegio. Es una obligación de nosotros tratar de enseñarles a ellos lo que le espera a cada uno de ellos en el próximo capítulo de su vida.
De la vida real.
No es que uno, como le dije, yo creo que se lo dije a Laura y a varias gente, y lo digo, yo tengo una colección de hoodies en la casa. Tú sabes muy bien que en Pace, cuando cochaban, nos daban gears, chores, camisetas, abrigo. Yo tengo mi colección de hoodies que me encanta. Me gustaría usarlo, pero yo tengo que ser el ejemplo. Tiene que empezar conmigo. Si ese es mi trabajo, yo hago mi trabajo y espero hacer mi trabajo, porque si no, sabemos todos como adultos que si no haces tu trabajo, te botan y buscan a otro.
Bueno, voy a dejar esto así, porque yo sé que ustedes tienen que seguir chequeando hoodies en todas las clases.
Bro, que me quería quedar aquí. Te digo la verdad.
Oh, ¿te quieres quedar? Ok, está bien.
Ya lo está echando.
Pero
sí quería finalmente, y se lo agradezco a ella porque ella sabe el tiempo malo que pasamos, pero la estoy viendo madurar delante de mis propios ojos. Y te agradezco por eso.
te agradece mucho, pero ahora vas a tener que subir arriba con Mr. Gorris y estás de penitencia, parece.
Sí, hay consecuencias, no es nada personal. Sí hace frío, indiscutiblemente. Voy
Es
posiblemente.
que lo que le digo, tipo, hubiera sido muy distinto si estuviera con un jury en un salón.
Yo lo que sigo yendo para atrás, y no es para, como decimos en inglés, beat a dead horse, pero una persona adecuada o indicada para que esté en esta plataforma hablando es nuestro jefe de seguridad, el señor Tejero, porque al final del día es responsabilidad de él protegernos a todos nosotros. Y él te puede indicar de cosas o de situaciones como, por ejemplo, si Dios no lo quiera, alguien trata de entrar al colegio de nosotros a hacernos daño, esa persona lo primero que va a hacer es tratar de esconder su identidad. So, es muy fácil yo decirlo, pero él, teniendo la responsabilidad en sus manos, literalmente, fuera una persona indicada e ideal que tú tuvieras en este programa pronto, para hablar de ese mismo tema.
Sí, pero el problema es que si él está en el podcast, no puede hacer su trabajo. Y si algo pasa, entonces
Podcast mobile.
y yo estoy afuera, así que
Trata de hacer el podcast móvil.
Mobile podcast.
eso se puede hacer el sábado en detención.
También.
Wow, ok. So,
Ay, no.
Con Laura.
No.
Laura es un quick learner.
Aprende rápido.
Sí, aprende rápido y ya no es una niña, es una mujercita. Ya pronto Laura va a ser parte del workforce que va yendo a college por el día, trabajando por la noche o viceversa. So, ya es producto de la misma cultura que nosotros hemos estado tratando de establecer aquí. Con mucho trabajo y a veces con poca paciencia, pero es un trabajo que tenemos que hacer y aquí estaremos.
Wow, Laura, unas palabras tan especial. Pero como te digo otra vez, vas a tener que subir con Mr. Gorriz y hablar con él porque...
Gracias, Laura. Gracias.
Sí, gracias. Y Laura también tiene A y B en todas las clases. Para lo sepa. Bueno,
Al final del día-
tienes una C, ¿no?
Al final
Sí.
del día, para cerrar este podcast, no te voy a quitar tu trabajo, pero al final del día, lo que importa aquí, lo que más importa es académicamente los grados de nuestros estudiantes. Es un reflejo de nuestra cultura académica aquí en el colegio y lo que nosotros nos despertamos por la mañana a hacer. Es para ver nuestra juventud salir adelante.
Absolutely. I'm gonna end it in English. I'm gonna say absolutely. Laura's looking at me like, ¿qué? Pero absolutely. Laura does have A's, B's, and C's. I checked out her report card this morning. We also had Victoria on the show,
Está haciendo frío.
who's a very good student.
Victoria.
Helen was also here. She didn't say much or anything at all, but she's also a good student. High school's doing very well with their classes. Middle school, who's also here with us, needs some work. But
I'm going to say something on behalf of, or having to do with Helen, which I've spoken to Helen maybe in 5 years. I have probably spoken to Helen once. And it wasn't even a situation that she caused. Another student actually damaged one of her sweaters. And I'll never forget, it was a Lakers jacket.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to go into details as to what happened, but I will say this, Helen, thank you. The reality is that if most students were like you, I wouldn't have a job. There'd be no need for me. So thank you.
It's okay.
yeah, so we've established that Helen's the best on the table.
Well, she's never.
Por un ratico yo pensé lo mismo, pero
Laura, si fuéramos haciéndolo.
escucha, mira, ese es mi tico Gris. Está diciendo copy porque ahorita vas a tener que hablar con él.
Estaba ahí escuchando.
Y eso va a pasar creo que ahora. Vamos a tomar una pausa. We're gonna pause. Mi tico Gris está bravo. Es contigo. Eso es contigo. We're gonna take a 5-minute break. We're gonna thank Mr. Lazo and Mr. Cabo for being here with us.
Thank you, Mr. Roque.
Thank you for all the rules. And we're going to thank Laura, who's clapping it up, and she's about to go see Mr. Goris. Victoria, thank you. And Helen, thank you. We'll be back in 5.
With someone you are. With someone you are. With babe. With babe.
We are back here in third period on the WolfCast, the Slam North podcast, and we have some new guests on the show right now. We have, so to start off, in first period, we had some negatives with the Dean of Discipline and so forth.
Oh, yeah.
But I want to talk about the positives too. And one of the positives this year that we had was the high school varsity soccer team. And we have 3 very special players. 4 if we include Santino, who I guess he's no, don't say that, Rami. Santino, who is office aide at this point. But either way, we have Rami here with us. Rami Caraveo is with us. We have Juan Danelon. And we have Rodrigo Franco.
Fridge.
Hello.
Fridge.
So for those who don't know, the one talking a lot is Rami, who has something to say about everybody. So we're gonna say stuff about you to start
My
off.
sugar's low.
Oh my God, Rami. To start off, we had our regional quarterfinal yesterday, and the season didn't end on a good note. It was a good season in total, right? But we didn't accomplish our goal, I would say. And one of the reasons why I would say we didn't accomplish our goal is because we were missing one of our best players for the first 20 minutes or so of the game. He was sick, and his name was Rami, actually. Rami, can you tell us about your pregame meal yesterday?
So every game before a game, every day before a game, your boy eats a bag of Takis, a bag of Fritos chili cheese fries, and a bag of Cheetos. And you mix them, you crush them up, and it's gas.
Well, apparently it's worked out at times throughout the year.
It's good luck.
Your coaches, by the way, another one of your coaches is here as well with us. Your head coach, Coach Garcia. Coach Garcia, how are you doing today?
Good, and you?
Head
All right,
coach.
so your assistant coach, Mr. Roque, here with you as well. Rami,
What does that make Mr. A?
I have no idea. That's a great question. Head coach for real. Yeah, Mr. A's the head coach. There's 2 head coaches and 1 assistant. Right, Coach Garcia?
Wow, you're being very humble today.
I am a humble guy. Rami, back to you though. That pregame meal, your coaches don't really know about it like that. So can you tell us when you have this pregame meal, because you don't have it like on the bus?
So you gotta have it 3 hours before a game. So then you get to the field, you digest it, you go to the bathroom, you do your thing. And pues cuando estás en el partido, te tiras un pedito y corres rápido.
Oh, Rami, I mean, okay, I didn't need all the specifics. However, Rami, I want you to recap your season. How do you feel? First of all, how do you feel about the coaches this season? Next, how do you feel about your game this season? And the third question that I have, how do you feel going into next year? What can we do to improve as a team to actually accomplish our goal?
This year we had a lot of improvement with the coaches. Last year I feel like it was a little bit slack, but this year it went well. It was good. I believe we did a lot better than I thought. As for myself, I feel like I underperformed a lot. I could have done a lot better, but we had a good team consisting of Juan Dandelon, Juan Padilla, Iverick, which
Why would you say
made up
that,
for myself.
why would you say that you underperformed this year?
Because I feel like I could do a lot better, and with the yellow cards and the refs, le quería pegar una trompada al ref ese, pero ya está.
All right, so Rami's a unique player, and I've mentioned this to him several times throughout the year, and I think Coach Garcia would agree with me. Rami's greatest strength is probably his greatest weakness at times, right, Coach Garcia?
Yep.
Coach Garcia and I, we even on the bus yesterday, we had a debate about LeBron and Michael Jordan. That's another sport.
Rami and Juan Dandelon.
However, what I want to say about you, Rami, is that what Coach Garcia always says is that Michael Jordan did have help, and one of the players that helped him out was Dennis Rodman. To me, you're the soccer equivalent of Dennis Rodman. You're just a crazy guy, but every team needs a Rami in order to win. And I told you that
I'm
after.
not Dennis Rodman.
To me, you
I'm
are.
not Dennis Rodman.
To
I'm
me, you're
Rami
a
Carrabeo.
Okay, you're the one and only.
I'm Pat Bev.
But as I was saying, every team needs a player like you in order to win. And if you feel like we exceeded expectations this year, I think that you played a big part in that. Unfortunately, we did not have you for the first 20 minutes yesterday because of your stomach virus. And I do feel like that played a part in them coming back. I don't know if Coach Garcia agrees. Coach Garcia, what do you think about yesterday's game?
Can we talk about that later?
I mean, no, I want to talk about it now because at the end of the day, it is what it is. You take your loss like a man. So let's talk about it. Let's evaluate. We were winning 2-0, and the score did not end up 2-0. So what happened?
I don't know. I still till now do not know because I kept insisting to not take our foot off the gas, and I don't know where all the energy we had at the beginning of the game went. You know, we kept trying to throw in that spark, you know, get them back into it, and it just wasn't there. Just wasn't there. Sometimes it's not there. It wasn't there yesterday.
It really wasn't. I would say it was one of our worst games yesterday.
I agree.
However, like I said, I do want to talk about the positives. And one thing that Rami did mention is that he personally feels like we exceeded expectations this year. And one thing that was added to the team this year was our leading goal scorer. And that is Mr. Juan Danelon, who's here with us as well. He's looking intently at his phone. I don't know why. But he scored 20 goals this year.
Mierda.
A special season. I don't think that he missed a scoring chance all year, to be honest. Maybe one yesterday. But every time that he had the ball near the goal, I thought it was going, like, it was a goal to me. Juan, you want to do this in English or Spanish?
English.
All right, so let's stick to English. Juan, how do you feel? This was your first year playing soccer at Slam North. Juan, how do you feel about your season this year?
Hello. I think it was a really good season, like, for the team, and I think we did great. Like, we could beat. No quiero hablar.
Nah, he is saying that he did really
That's
good.
crazy. He speaks English.
¿Lo puedes decir en español?
No tengo ganas de hablar.
Vamos,
Dale.
dilo.
Yo escucho.
Español.
No quiero.
Juan, te necesito hablando. Tú eres el líder en goles del equipo. El líder de Slam North. La historia de Slam North. Dime algo.
¿Qué crees que diga?
¿Cómo te sientes de la temporada?
Fue buena. y creo que lo pudimos haber hecho mejor. Ayer merecíamos más y nada, eso.
Okay. We also have Mr. Rodrigo Franco here with us. I don't think that Juan. I think Juan's still feeling the loss a little bit. Rodrigo, how do you feel about your season? And you could even talk about the coaches a little bit because I don't think that you were thrilled with some of the playing time that you got. Rodrigo, tell us, how do you feel about your season and how do you feel going into next year?
I feel like I obviously didn't have the best season since, you know, there were some games that I didn't play my best, and there were some games that I actually did do pretty good. But yeah, the coaches noticed I started lacking a little bit, and they made a decision.
Mr. Garcia, head coach.
Yes, sir.
Why do you think that as the season went on, Rodrigo lost some playing time? I mean, I could answer that too myself, obviously, because we both played a part in the decision, but I want to hear your perspective.
Well, like you said, this was a combined decision between our coaches. You know, from what we've noticed, playing time is not always like who wants it more. You know, sometimes it's who deserves it more, who's going out and putting the work all the time, who's in proper form, and not to say he's not in shape. We just feel there was the couple that were on the field were just a little bit better, you know, it could give us a little bit more, if that makes sense, you know.
So, to be fair, Rodrigo's only a sophomore. He's got, as long as he wants it, he's got 2 more years here left at the school. What does he have to do moving forward next year to get his playing time back, which is, Rodrigo was a starter at the beginning of the year. He can play 70, 80 minutes. What does he have to do to earn his playing time over the summer, moving forward next year?
Well, exactly what you said. Earn it back. You know, during the summer, get in shape, and run in shape. Make sure you can last the 80 minutes.
Do you feel like Rodrigo's more of a center back? Because I feel like he played better yesterday. We tried him out as center back for a few minutes, and I think he played fine yesterday in the minutes that he got.
Yeah. I mean, he can. Either way, we try to make, you know, our players. We want them to be as flexible as possible. You know, we've played him throughout that whole back line. So that's what I don't want him to limit him to just one position, center back. I want him to be able, if we need him at right back, at left back, wherever we need him there, we can utilize him, you know. But he needs to want that.
Rodrigo, where do you feel more comfortable, center back, right back?
The bench.
If you need me to play center back, I'll play center back. If you need me to play left back, I'll play left back.
He's willing to do whatever it takes for the team.
Rodrigo gave the perfect player response. It's amazing. All right, so one thing that we did get this year was a trophy. It says runner-up, but it is what it is. Rami, I want to know your thoughts. How do you feel about that trophy? It's the first trophy in school history.
That's not a trophy.
Why not? It's
That's trash.
Why is it trash?
Because, you know, we had a great team and we could have gone in. We could have won that. We could have won the one that said winners, winners.
Do you guys feel any pride in, like, I get it. I don't really like the whole runner-up thing either, but do you feel any pride knowing that you kind of started something in the school this year? Rami? Since Juan doesn't want to talk to me, Juan's still feeling the loss of, you know, he's got 20 goals and he just feels like he's feeling the loss of the year, I think. Rami, speak for Juan.
Yeah.
Do you feel like any sense of pride that you kind of started something this year that you could build towards next year?
There is a bit of pride, but I feel like we're not gonna get this good of a team in a minute. You know, we had a striker for the first time in the school's history. You know, we had Marlon Franco. Can only move forwards and backwards, not diagonal. Cannot control the ball.
All right, now you're just talking about Rodrigo's brother. For anybody who doesn't know, that's Rodrigo's brother. However, go ahead.
He was the best captain, but not the best goal scorer.
The best captain. Okay. Okay. How do you feel about your captain? You were gonna say something about your captain next year. I'm pretty sure it's gonna be Juan Padilla. He's a senior next year. Yeah, you had something to say before this podcast about Juan Padilla. What you had to say? You wanted to say something about him.
Nah, I was trolling. That's my best friend right there.
That's the Dennis Rodman in you.
Yeah,
Just trolling.
just trolling.
Juan
He's a great
Padilla.
player, but yesterday no le dio.
Came up short.
How do you feel about losing in penalties, by the way? Because I mean, penalties is I would consider like a lucky part of the game. Well, Santino's there too. He was our goalkeeper yesterday during penalties. I don't really want to put him on the spot either because again, it's like a guessing game at that point, right? With penalties. Do you feel worse that we lost in penalties or that we let the game actually get to penalties? And why did we let the game get to penalties when we had a 2-0 lead?
That's a question I've been asking myself.
I feel like Danny could have saved that free kick.
So we're gonna blame.
Nah. But I feel like we put our heads down after the first goal they scored.
Why is that? We do that a lot. Why do we do that? Especially considering that we had a 2-1 lead at that point. Why would we put our head down? We had a lead in a regional game. That's a tremendous opportunity to not put your head down. Why would we do that as a team? How do we fix that next year?
I feel like I don't even know what to say. That was devastating.
Is that a leadership issue? Is that, again, we didn't have the energy of one Rami Carabeo at that point, who's the energy of a team. I think I told you, you're the heart and soul of our team. So we didn't have the heart and soul. Was that an issue yesterday? At that point in the game?
I feel like once Irix missed those chances, we were all screaming at him. And that happens, people miss.
We
But
did that. So yeah,
We're
that
focusing
was,
on that more the whole game.
That was a problem. I feel like we broke down not only yesterday in the game as a team, but in the district final as well. Next year, you as a leader, you will be a junior next year. Rodrigo will also be a junior next year. I would think that we eliminate that. The fighting within the team, that looks ridiculous. No, I didn't see any other team do that this year. Why do we do that? Iverick, we get it. He missed a couple scoring chances, but at least he got the chances. So
Yeah.
why do that?
Why do
How does that help the team? We're great. We kind of had like a little scuffle yesterday within the team. Why are we the only team doing that at the games?
I mean, I feel like it's a passion that we have. I feel like we had the best team, and with the good team comes a lot of passion.
So at the beginning you said you felt like we maybe overachieved, but do you think we underachieved maybe?
At points we did. I feel like I never thought we were gonna get to district finals, but once we played the regional quarterfinals versus a team like our comedian, I feel like that was a game to win, a game to advance to.
Because we did beat them in the regular season as well, right?
Yeah, 4-3.
A game that Mr. Juan Danilon, who does not want to speak to us today because he's still very frustrated and eating an apple on the podcast.
Best smile. Best smile.
Yeah, best smile. And he actually scored in the regular season. He scored the 4 goals against our comedian. He doesn't want to. He's very humble. That's the problem with him. But he's not very humble. I can't even lie about that. However, he did score those 4 goals against our comedian, and he scored again yesterday. He really stepped up all year, and I wish that he would have some more to say today, but I don't know. He's eating an apple right now. Rodrigo, why do you feel like we broke apart in certain games? Like in terms of leadership, how do you feel about the leadership of the team this year?
The leadership was good. He he kept us motivated.
Who's he?
Padilla, you, Rami Carvalho,
Oh, yeah.
Juan Dandelon.
Say my name like that one more
They
time.
would step up, and talk to the team, try to calm
What
them
happened
down.
to Denzel? He's also captain. Mention
Yeah.
his name.
So then, okay, let's talk about Denzel, and let's not bring him. Let's talk about him, but let's not talk bad about him. Because yesterday within the game, Coach Garcia, I was obviously standing next to you, and one thing that we did say yesterday, there was a play in the game yesterday that Denzel just barely. He had a chance to get to the ball, and he didn't quite get to it. And we know that Denzel from the 2 years ago gets to that. If we would have had Denzel healthy, like 100%,
Prior to surgery.
how good are we this year? Not to make excuses, but it's just a fair thing. He had a torn ACL last year. How good are we? Considering that we had Juan Danilon this year score 20 goals, Denzel's kind of the same type of finisher and obviously with his speed on the wing, how good would we have been this year with the guy that before the torn ACL? Our captain, really. That was our captain.
I'll tell you what. If he was healthy, Juan easily ends up with maybe close to 30. Just by the chances, we saw how he moves with the torn ACL. Without it, he was faster. A lot more physical. So it would have made a big difference, I think.
We obviously had our old coach, Coach Barisha, attend the district final, and that was one thing that he mentioned as well. If we would have had the Denzel that he had, Denzel scored the first goal in Slam North history. He mentioned that as well. We would have been pretty dominant, at least offensively, which we already were. Our problem was mostly defense, I would say. We scored a lot of goals, but offensively, we would have probably outscored everybody, to be honest. Even Sheikh Hillel, who we could talk about a little bit about them as well, since they won 8-0 yesterday. You don't want to talk about Sheikh Hillel, Rami?
They're a bunch of cheaters.
They're not.
What happens if I say
They-
some
uh,
special
they
language?
they have a good team, and honestly, when you play a team like that, I feel like we could learn from a team like that. They're a program that's been together for more years than us, and even though I think talent-wise we're right there with them, I felt like they played more together than us in the games that they played against us. You could say you call them cheaters. Dorado, why are you calling them cheaters?
Because of the fact that you guys weren't probably looking at it. Their crowd, not just their players, were basically on the field half the time. And we would step a little bit onto the turf, and we were already getting yelled at by not just the umps, but by themselves. But when we would tell them something, the umps would just literally ignore them and just stare at us. That's just a coincidence.
I wouldn't
don't
call
think
that
so.
cheating, though. Coach
No, but
Garcia,
it's not even that. It's in front of us. Dude rolls on the floor, dives on the floor, and the umps call it as a foul.
I can't say anything because
He didn't get touched.
Especially
He didn't get
especially
touched.
right now, I can't say anything because we have Rami here on the podcast, and if there's one person who and I love when you do it, by the way. Like, when you flop a little bit, you I mean,
No,
come on.
but I'm talking about the fact
you
that
know.
Okay, if they push you or if they touch you, the dude rolled on the floor when
Rami
he wasn't even touched.
Rami does that at times.
It's part of the game, So,
Right,
there's a lot of acting involved in.
Yeah, no, I get that, but they were doing it a little bit more.
Rami's
than
the
they were.
absolute-
You're getting the call, they're gonna keep doing it.
Rami's the
That's
absolute
thing.
best at that.
And unfortunately, I mean, not trying to bash the rest this year, but
It wasn't great.
They weren't too good this year.
That was the
But that's
that
not
was
an
the best ref we've
excuse.
had, though.
He did. He was very good.
He
That-
was
that's
actually
the best
really
ref we
good.
had.
I feel that game was officiated really good. And not, yesterday's not too much.
Rami, how'd you learn how to flop?
What?
How'd you learn how to
Said
flop?
his
It's
blood.
amazing how you do it.
I-
Like you'll pretend to be hurt and out for the year, and then you give me a smile. How'd you learn how to do that?
Yeah, just
Neymar.
watching the Paul,
Yeah,
the GOAT, Messi security guard right here. I'm Messi security guard.
you're one security guard.
I'm Juan security guard.
You're calling Juan Messi.
They took.
Uh,
That's not
okay.
Messi. That's Diego Armando Maradona.
That's the way we would announce him for the starting lineup. At least we did it one time.
Yeah.
Okay, can you get him to speak? Can you get him to speak? Can you motivate him to speak?
Hey,
Speak.
habla.
That's
Si
our,
le digo algo,
why,
si le
why,
digo
is,
algo.
why is our leading goal scorer not speaking?
No, porque no quiero hablar.
¿Estás triste?
Estoy muy triste.
All right, Santino. Habla. Santino, ¿cómo te sentiste con la temporada?
Bien, bien, bien.
Micrófono.
Bastante bien.
¿Por
Pensé que
qué?
íbamos un poco decepcionado porque pensé que podríamos llegar más lejos.
¿Y ayer cómo te sentiste en los penales?
Tenía confianza, pero bueno, no se me dio.
Santino, el año que viene tú eres uno de los líderes también, senior, el año que viene.
Ataja una.
No, that's not what I meant to say, Rami. Not what I meant to say at all. Santino, el año que viene como líder, ¿qué podemos hacer mejor? ¿Qué piensas? El año que viene.
Y yo creo que al tener la cancha nueva vamos a poder practicar más lo que es la pelota parada, que fue una debilidad muy grande que tuvimos durante este año, la verdad.
Y esa palabra que usa.
That's actually a great point that Santino brings up. He brings up the fact that we're going to have a new field to practice on next year. Coach Garcia, head coach, how do you feel about that? Knowing that, I mean, to be honest, that was part of the adversity that we faced this year. we had practice obviously every day, but the field that we practice on is not reflective of the fields that we play on. We play in bigger fields, obviously. Next year we're gonna have a field that's actually pretty big, and we're gonna get to practice corner kicks and stuff that we struggled on. How's that gonna help us out next year?
Well, having a actual size field helps. Period.
Period. Damn.
Point blank. Period.
Point blank. Period.
Girl, what?
It helps out with everything. You know, not only working on that, but actually our endurance, which we will be a lot more strict.
Is that
up next year.
is that a problem? Like sometimes the players don't want to run. Rami.
100%. It's a running game. And
Rami. Sometimes the players don't want to run to start practice.
I mean,
could that have been a problem yesterday? Why did we lose energy, Rami? Yesterday.
because I didn't get a yellow.
The
Wow,
word
that's,
is
that's actually a fair point.
the
Like,
word is discipline.
that's one of the few games that you did not get a yellow in.
And we lost. You
How
see,
ma- how many-
I didn't get a yellow versus Hello. We lost. I didn't get a yellow versus.
How many yellows did you have this year? At least 7.
Too
no?
many.
No, I have 10, and I didn't get in 2 games.
Max 10.
Yeah, 10 or 9.
Jeez, that has to be a record.
Oh no, I got like 11 because I got a double yellows like 4 games in a row.
Did you end up getting a blue card in one game?
Yeah, I got 2 blue cards.
He's so proud of that. It's not something to be proud of. That means that you're out of the game.
You'd be scared of me, bro.
He's this gen's Sergio Ramos.
Es Casemiro, es Casemiro.
Santino,
Soy
Generation
Rami
Sergio
Carrero.
Santino,
Sergio
tú,
Ramos.
tú como arquero, ¿qué piensas cuando alguien como Rami que está fuera del juego? Uno de los mejores que tenemos en el equipo, Rami sin disciplina, fuera del juego. ¿Cómo nos ayuda eso?
Me dan ganas de agarrarlo y cagarlo a trompadas.
Sí, a mí también. Gracias.
Canta cuando me agarran y me caen a trompadas en medio de la cancha.
Rami, let me ask you a question as well, because yesterday you played multiple positions.
Yeah.
You played your regular position, CDM, but you also played a position that you've been telling the coaches that you'd like to play all year, center back. You played it really well, except for one
Yeah,
play.
that one play that
I know you want to talk about Danny, but Danny actually saved you on that play.
Yeah.
He really did.
I
'Cause
messed
you
up
could have
coming
been
out
like,
the back.
We could have been like talking bad about you today if that goes in. But how do you feel
We can still do that.
moving forward to next year? Do you feel like you should play center back, or do you feel like you should stick to the same position?
I mean, I feel like next year, I mean, we're going to be missing a couple players like Davies at left back, Miguel Garcia right back, so we're going to have to move Miguel Cortez somewhere.
I mean, it
If
depends
we're
on who
missing a
comes into the
fullback.
school too. But yeah. So how do you feel? Let's say you had to play center back with, let's say, Jaden. Is that a system that works?
I mean, yeah.
Or let's say Rodrigo, who's here with us, and he plays it too. Do you guys have chemistry?
It would also
like
work,
that?
but I feel like we're also missing a little bit of pace back there with, if it's me or Rodrigo, me and Jaden, I'm not the quickest player, Rodrigo's not the quickest player, neither is Jaden. Miguel Cortez isn't the quickest player, but he gets to the balls, he's smart.
Right.
He knows
That's-
how to anticipate, come out the back.
That's why he shifted this year. He actually,
Yeah.
it was his idea, to be honest. As we're gonna talk about that as well, because as coaches, we need to bring up the fact that our players are pretty smart about the game, including Juan Donalong, who again, Juan Donalong, all he's done on this podcast is eat an apple. But one thing that he did as well, Juan Donalong started the year as our CDM, a position that he told us 2 games in was not it. He moved to striker the 3rd game. He might have had 25 goals this year if he would have been striker the whole entire year. I would say that might have been
26.
our biggest mistake as coaches. Coach Garcia, what do you think about that?
I agree. I mean, but that's on us. You know, we have to see this early. We have to see this early on and make those changes, you know, at the beginning. So before the season actually starts, we have to be able to. And again, it's something that we are learning as we go on, because in case nobody knew, we didn't start as soccer coaches.
This is really our first year.
Can we talk about Calo for a second too?
Oh, well, sure. What do you want to say about Calo?
Calo was hustling the finals game. He
Are you
was
talking
hustling.
about against Shekalo?
Yeah, dude.
Okay, that's your favorite player?
No, I mean, you got to give him props. You got to give the kid props, you know what I mean? The size difference just with the players, forget about play style, forget about skill and experience. The size difference is just crazy.
Yeah, we do like size on the team, and we're gonna
You like
miss,
size, sir?
we lack size. We're gonna miss Juan Danilong in that area as well. Rami, again, you're one of a kind. Without there's only one you.
I know.
Now you're bringing your cleats out. You're showing everybody your cleats.
Yeah,
You gave Lucas Villa a pair of cleats yesterday because he didn't have his cleats to start the game.
Yeah,
What was that all about?
I mean, he thought I took his cleats and then he killed somebody in the field.
What does that mean?
He stepped on him. He barely touched him.
Did he really not bring his cleats yesterday?
Yeah, he forgot them.
Who does that in regional quarterfinal, Rami?
No sé, la verdad que es
Hey.
un bobo. Que mira bobo.
So that's another thing we need to work on, discipline. And I think, as coaches, we need to be on them a little bit more, for their own good. For their own good. Because a lot of these players, I'm not even gonna lie, their potential, is out of this world. They just haven't realized it, and they've never been pushed.
Even Roger, like we're not on video right now, but even Rodrigo, he's giving me a wet willy in the middle of this podcast. No discipline, Rodrigo.
Wet willy.
Right, Rodrigo. Oh yeah, Rodrigo's got to have his protein every single day. That's true. It is water. My bad. Rodrigo, is your diet gonna change next year? Your diet's gonna change next year?
I mean, Rodrigo doesn't really eat bad though.
No, I know he eats great. Like he's more in shape than anybody here.
Quinoa.
But the thing is, like he's in shape. He's in shape for another sport. He looks like a middle linebacker. Remember?
Are you playing football next year, Rodrigo?
Are you? That's a great question that Rami just asked. Are you playing football, American football next year at NB again?
Yeah.
What position?
Like kicker again? Or
Don't get mad if they don't play you.
You could play.
I'm gonna take your position too.
You could play another position. To be honest, you could play linebacker for real.
I know, but something that the football coaches maybe like take into consideration is that something that also happened this year was that I injured both of my shoulders, and that took part of me like coming out a little bit out of shape, cause like how I would always used to go to the gym and everything. I couldn't go for about 3 months. And just now I'm starting to go.
Did that affect you in the soccer season? The two hurt shoulders. Were you lacking physicality because of that? You were kind of maybe hesitant to.
I felt even if I didn't want to, something just comes out naturally that you feel it was like scared to go like more physical with the other team because of like how you felt you were injured before. You don't want to like go through that again. So yeah, I was a little hesitant to go more physical.
And in terms of, not that there's anything wrong with it, you're playing multiple sports. In terms of playing football, American football, why exactly are you doing it? Is it for like a scholarship opportunity, or what's the long-term goal for you?
That is the reason why I'm doing it. A scholarship. I'm seeing my options, and I tried it. I liked it, and it turns out that I'm actually pretty good at it. My coach texted me saying that I made it all county. Like people are actually like taking me into like in consideration and stuff. They're starting to look into me, so I feel like that's something that's an opportunity that can.
You made all county as a kicker. What were your official stats?
I don't remember.
Did you miss?
Huh? Did you miss any field goals?
I did actually. There was one terrible game that I had.
Let's bring out the point too that you actually won a game as well against Pace, right? Just say. Why is everybody so humble today? Just say it. I won a game against Pace.
I scored a winning kick against Pace.
Coach Garcia, what do you think about that? In terms of players playing multiple sports, you have experience playing sports back in the day in high school. Is that a benefit, or is that a hindrance to maybe a football player playing soccer as well? What would you advise Rodrigo to do next year?
Well, it depends on which one you're taking more serious, because at his age, I also played multiple sports, but there's one that I took more serious, so I made sure the other sports I wasn't getting to a level where I was going to get injured and, mess up my chance in baseball, which was my sport at the time. But again, just stay healthy. If that's what you want to do, go for it. Be the best at it. Just keep going.
we're gonna leave off on the serious note here, talking about serious, which is very ironic because if there's one team that is not serious, is this one. Rami is definitely not serious. Juan Danalong's not serious, and Santino over here, you know, So Rami's playing pranks over here on another student, because that's what he does. However, he might be a new player. We're gonna end it right here, and we are going to take a break.
I'm proud of this team, very proud of this team and where we've gotten. Thank you, coaches.
We want to thank Rami. Thank you, Rami, for being with us. Juan for being with us and eating an apple, and thank you, Rodrigo, as well.
What
as
about
well
Santino?
as
What about
as
Santino?
head coach Garcia, and Santino joined us as well today, even though this is not his third period. But thank you, Santino, for being with us. We're gonna take a break, and we'll be back.
With someone you are. With someone you are. You are.
We are back here with fifth period. After first period, where we spoke to Mr. Lazo. Third period, we spoke with the soccer boys who had a great season. And now we have a different topic of conversation here with fifth period, and we have some great guests on the show. We have the SGA president, Miss Maria Moore. How are you doing today?
I'm great. Thank you so much, Roque, for having me.
The vice president, Miss Amy Vanini. And we have the one and only Miss Espinoza, the vice principal of our school.
Hello, hello.
Miss Espinoza, how you doing today, Miss Espinoza?
I'm doing phenomenal. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing well personally.
We're all pretty good. Thank you.
Been
Love
podcasting
it.
all day. Mr. Dorado, I don't need to ask how you're doing because I've been with you all day.
Oh yeah, we've had an interesting day for sure. We've had ups and downs
sure.
with Lazo, and then up with the
Lazo was
soccer
very mad
boys
this
and
morning.
Garcia and
He was mad this morning.
Woo.
He's never happy though, is he?
Nah, not really.
It's his job, I think, to be mad.
I haven't seen him smile too much.
No. We also have the projected valedictorian of the school here. We have Miss Regina Garcia. This year she will be the valedictorian, right? You already have your speech prepared. It's a surprise. And we also have Lucas Carrero, who can talk for days. Lucas, say something.
I never stop talking.
Exactly. And today, Regina and Lucas have some questions. So I'm really going to be hands-off for this fifth period for the most part, because Regina and Lucas have some questions for our SGA president and our vice principal and so forth. So, Regina, take it away. You have your questions, your Q&A session. Regina, be the host. Go ahead.
All right, so hi, Maria. Hello, Ms. Espinoza. So, Maria, I have a few questions for you. Hope you don't mind.
Of course, of course.
So how do you decide how the school funding should be allocated for like events and all of those things? Like, what's the process?
So when it comes to actually distributing the money and finding out where we need funding in places, it ultimately comes down to the price we want to give to the seniors or to the students, just to make everything a tad bit more affordable. So, for example, we just had our winter carnival, and we had separate booths. So let's say for one booth we made $200, and the other one we made $150. Our prom would be very expensive, so I would allocate those $200 towards lessening the price of prom, and potentially use $150 of the other dollars that we made to buy decorations and buy other things, just so that we can make everything a lot cheaper for everyone.
Maria, would you feel there's a specification to reducing costs only for the senior class?
I wouldn't say that, no.
Why
I mean,
not?
but also the senior class does typically run most of these things, but I wouldn't say that it's only to the senior class. There's some things that, for example, homecoming, which is not only the senior class, it includes all of high school, where we try to make it as affordable as possible for everyone, including using the senior funding that we had from last year. So I think we can be very inclusive. We do sometimes prioritize ourselves first because our class does put in the majority of the work for SGA, but I find that we're very fair and we like to help out with as much as we can.
One thing you also have to keep in mind with all this is that the senior class has to pay for the most. Always, the 12th graders have their homecoming, they have prom, they have grad bash, they have senior breakfast. They have a bunch of events along with their senior pictures, which a lot of them want to buy, renting their cap and gowns. It's a lot, you know, so keeping costs down is very essential, especially for a senior class in any high school, really.
All right, so I want to add on to that. So what future fundraising ideas do you have for other events and for other things?
Okay, so this is actually a very fun and exciting one. We all know March is coming around the corner, and I finally did get it approved. I know I talked about it on the other podcast, to have a senior spirit week before we enter spring break. So on that Monday, it will be a St. Patrick's Day themed where we will charge for people to come dressed in green, and me and Amy will personally have our food truck from our job come out and sell acai at the school. So we're gonna make profit off of that. We also have a painting with a twist day for the seniors, but we're gonna make it a themed day every day, so that students can come in and obviously pay the dress down to come dressed in theme. So just each one of those days is its own like fundraiser.
Nice. Any other spoilers for that week?
I'm gonna keep that on the low. I don't want to spoil too much.
Okay, nice.
Ms. Espinoza, I mean, I'm sorry, I had to be quiet because Regina's a better host than I am, to be honest. I saw something upstairs. I don't know if you guys already spoke about it because I had to leave for a second. But, Maria, you had something upstairs about the 28th, something related to February. What are we doing for February?
Correct. So for February, we were making these boards just to show inclusivity for obviously for those people who aren't in relationships, so they can feel loved. So you know that you don't have to be in a relationship to feel loved. You can love yourself. So we have 28 ways to love yourself, and those are just little affirmations that you can have each day of February. And we are making another board for Black History Month because it's a very important and prevalent month. And I do want to have a special day dedicated to those of African American descent. So
Very well.
that's our plan.
Right. Can you give me some examples of the affirmations that you put for the bulletin board for self-love? Because I think that's a wonderful idea.
I believe Amy can take that question away since that's her board.
Okay, so a couple of the ones that we did put was, give me 1 second.
Of course.
A couple were to like choose yourself first always. Don't stop loving yourself. Always forgive yourself, like through anything. Focus on your strengths. Be yourself. Those are a couple of them.
Right. No, those are really good affirmations, especially since we need those, especially in this time of comparison and other such things.
Lucas, you had some questions too, right? Because Regina and Lucas did a great job on this assignment, and it is their Q&A session. Lucas, what is one of your questions? Is it related to Miss Espinoza, maybe?
I mean, sure. My biggest question is, so in lunchtime, hot meals run out, and several students have to eat cold sandwiches. Why is that?
Well, I think we kind of answered it. We ran out of the food. But I will admit, something that we do here at Slam North is we don't have a full kitchen, right? So we always have to pre-order meals, right? So that you guys can actually understand. So we pre-order meals on estimations. So, notice that there'll always be a high demand for pizza. Everyone loves the pizza, but there's always a lower demand for other things. So the school really has to give their best estimate on how much is going to be calculated for that day. We don't always know what's coming in, so that makes the estimate a lot harder. So that's probably, that is the main factor as to why you don't see that everyone gets the warmer meals, but our cafeteria manager always thinks ahead, which is why we have the cold sandwiches, right? Like the subs. So those are what we use, that when we do run out and we do have students that need lunch, we make sure that we're still providing them that lunch. So that's your answer.
Okay, go ahead, Regina. Next question. Sorry.
To add on to that, Ms. Espinoza, what other factors, apart from popular demand from the students, do you use to make that estimate?
I mean, even absences, One thing that we've noticed as a trend is Fridays or half days tend to have low students in campus. So that also is a factor when it comes to ordering lunch. Like I said, Fridays is our pizza day, so we already know to order a certain amount because that is the food that is in high demand. But being the fact that we don't necessarily know the full menu and we're not the one that actually caters it, makes it hard to see what the kids are going to like for that specific day.
Regina, any other questions?
So to Ms. Espinoza, this one is related it's related to school. So my question is, how do you create student schedules? So how do you decide what students to put in which classes?
There's a lot to consider. I wish it was simple as A, B, and C, but it's not. There's a lot of things you have to consider. You have to look at how many classrooms do we have, right? Because I can't create all of these electives and all of these courses if we don't necessarily have the space for it. Outside of that, what do you guys need in order to be in a classroom? An instructor. Do I have enough certified teachers to handle that subject? Or do I have enough support to teach that elective or course? Another thing that falls into play is student numbers. I'm not going to build so many electives for, let's say, a population that would fit 700 people, but we only have 487 students, right? So that's also a factor. Another huge factor that, it's reality, and I love being transparent, is that we do have a very low proficient school. So a lot of the demands in courses goes back to our intensive classes, whether it's math, or reading, you know, both in middle school and high school, those are classes that are always going to have to come in first, because if you don't do well on a state exam, you automatically have to take intensive classes. So that also pulls away the numbers from having to do more electives. But once we get all of that in, so your space, your instructors, the numbers, then you have to create a progression, which is one of the things that our counselor is working on, is a map. Every sixth grade is going to have ELA. Every sixth grade is going to have math sixth grade. Every sixth grade is going to also have RTV, PE, social studies. So what she does is builds a map of what's expected of every grade level, also considering intensive reading courses. So that's kind of what is called the master schedule in terms of courses, classes, and what we can do for the following year.
All right, so you mentioned space as an important factor, and back a few years ago, they planned on making a new building for extra space. However, that was delayed because of the pandemic. So this guides into my next question. When is the projected date for the completion of this building?
You know, that's a question I ask myself every single day. I wish it's a lot easier said than done, but being that you're with the city, we're in the public park, you know, so we have to get ordinance, we have to get approval from the mayor.
Yes.
Right? The city manager. So that's not something that as a school we get to dictate that. We have to wait for approval, and sometimes with approvals, it's not just one person that dictates all. It's like our government. There is a council, there is a Congress. They all have to vote and they all have to agree. So if our council in North Miami Beach aren't agreeing on the same place, such as allowing us to expand, then we can't do anything about it. We do have the architects that support our school, who built the blueprints, who has everything, has all the measurements, but the only thing we're waiting on is our councilmen and women to vote and agree to allow us to expand. So that politics does play a huge part in that, because there's about 8 of them, and not all of 8 agree on the same thing.
Okay, I have a question. I mean, first of all, I'd like to say that we're very fortunate to have somebody like Miss Espinosa who answers questions like this, because she answers them better than I would, to be honest. And since we have a group of softball players, we have Maria, we have Regina, and we have Christina, I'm going to give Miss Espinosa a softball question because I feel like she deserves one. Ms. Espinosa, how do you feel about the progress the school has made since you first joined it? And I personally feel like there's been a lot of progress within the past year, so I want you to answer that one. I think it's a positive question. So.
And the only word I can say is proud. Like Mr. Roque had just mentioned, I've only been here a year and a few months, and within this past year and few months, there's been progression all over the place. You know, the teachers have everything to do with that, and it also goes back to our students. If our teachers are happy, our students are happy, and if both of them are happy, I'm happy. And our sports, going back to softball, you know, this year we added, you know, we have one coach that stayed, but another coach that's, you know, still catching up with you guys, still in communication with you guys. So you guys have a strong bond, which is what I absolutely love. And on top of that, outside of softball, we have new sports coming in that we didn't have last year, such as track, flag football. And specifically to softball, I love that there is a women's sports. You know, I know it's super easy to get men involved in sports, but you know, now that we have softball, we have track with women in it, we have the female flag football team. I love the empowerment that it brings to young women, and that's something that we need. And the same thing with confidence. I'm a girl's girl. I'll always be a girl's girl. I do love my men. I do love my gentlemen. I do give them all the respect, but I always gotta think women first, right? We always gotta make sure we're empowering each other, and it also starts with sports. We can also do it too. I did it myself.
All right, that was your easy question of the day. That was
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Roque, because right now I'm giving it back to Regina. She has no easy questions. So there you go, Regina.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
And I thank you for saying, to add on to that about the progression. I've been in the school for a long time, and I've seen it grow from practically the beginning. Christina, Maria, Amy, all of them have seen the school grow from the beginning. So the same question Mr. Roque asked, I asked to Maria.
The progression that I've seen in the school, actually, well, we can bring up Mr. Roque's soccer team. I've seen an immense comeback. I explicitly remember when the school first had our soccer team in 2018, and it was boys and girls. We weren't doing too well, and eventually we didn't have a soccer team, and then you guys came around and you took it for a wild turn. And the players they really did work so hard for that. They really pushed themselves and pushed each other to get to where they got. But I think the coaches definitely played a huge role in that too.
I'm going to say thank you to that for that compliment. And even though our season ended yesterday, unfortunately, I will say that I'm very proud of that team. I had them for third period. And you talked about hard work. Our last practice was actually in the pouring rain on Monday. So it's a testament to the type of work that we put in. And I really feel like next year that I told them after the game that they helped set a culture here, and next year it's going to be even better.
You're so modest, and I'm going to brag for him just because he deserves this. I mean, they made history here at Slam North. We've never had a team make it to districts. And, I mean, that's an incredible, incredible accomplishment just for our school. You guys see how small we are, and something that big is a huge deal. You know, so major kudos to the soccer team, and congratulations, Mr. Roque, because it all starts with the coach. The players don't have a team if they don't have a coach that leads them, and you guys do an incredible job with creating that relationship and motivation and encouragement for those boys. So thank you.
I appreciate that, and I actually want to turn it to softball now, to be honest, because we have Christina here as well. Christina Jean-Baptiste did not get to introduce herself, but she has replaced Lucas Carrero on the table, who has not stopped sneezing in this class, unfortunately. So, Christina, welcome to the podcast.
Hello, everyone.
And just as we did in soccer, I do feel like softball made some history last year. It was I did set the lineup, by the way. I'm going to say that as well. But, I set the lineup.
I did help them with trying to get people out of base because I was running those bases for them.
So we had a 5-3 victory last year, as far as I'm concerned, and we won our first game ever in softball. And this year we had the same girls coming back pretty much, with some more included from what I've seen that are pretty talented. I want to know from all three of you, how do you feel about the upcoming season?
Okay. So I feel about this upcoming season. Actually, I have not been going to practice due to work, but I'm still committed to playing softball this year. But for this upcoming season, I expect greatness for us. I expect us to have the strength, like you said, women empowerment. I feel like with this school and with this softball team is that we are not just a team, we're a family. We love each other, we support each other, and we're always there for one another. And with that, you can go anywhere with that. I think this softball season is going to be great, and we're going to bring in some wins home, of course. That's what we're hoping for with the grace of God. And I think I have really great expectations for this season, really great expectations.
Maria, Miss First Baseman / relief pitcher, how do you feel?
I want to add on to what Christina said. I completely agree with her. I'm also very optimistic that we're going to do great this season. I have nothing but high hopes for my girls. Honestly, I believe that we really do put in the work for softball. Whether coach is there or not, you see us on the field. We really try and push. A lot of the girls like Melissa and Alicia, they like to go and practice during their office aid periods, just since obviously, like Christina said, they can't come in due to work. We do like to put in the work off season and on season at all times. So I'm gonna give it away to Regina.
Regina, the outfielder.
Thank you.
How do you feel?
All right, so I feel very proud of our progression because me, Maria, and Christina were actually in the team since its very foundation. So we were young girls, and then we improved slowly but surely. We improved, and for this season, I have a veni vidi vici mentality. We came, we saw, we conquered.
All right, so we're getting W's this season is what you're saying.
Yes.
Yes.
For sure. All right.
Yes.
I like it.
Some highs, some lows, but we'll get it.
That's any team, and that we had that in soccer as well. And Christina actually brought up a good point that I also told the soccer boys yesterday after they took the loss. The coaches put the team together, but that team became a family, and that's really the most important thing. There's memories that come out of it that they're irreplaceable. I wouldn't trade it for the world. And I told them one of the practices, I did mention something about time, the value of time. And what I told them yesterday at the end was that the time that I spend with them, again, is something that I wouldn't trade for the world. They're usually together around school. They are a family within themselves. And I'm really proud of them.
I also want to apply that's not only with sports. There's something really unique about this school is that we are our family. Like, we support each other. Like, I have never seen in a regular school how we support each other. The love that we have for each other is not only in sports, it's in the whole school. I think that is one way that we grow, is by the support that we have and the communication and the love that we have for each other in this school.
Regina, you're raising your hand like if you're in a class, and go ahead.
So to add on to Christina's point about the love that we have for each other and the communication, because we're a small school, we're more interconnected and everybody knows everybody. So yeah, sometimes we might be separate, we have our own little separate groups, but most of the time we know each other, we're pretty united, and yeah, everybody knows everybody. We develop a deeper bond for each other.
I personally wouldn't want to teach at another school at this point because I feel like when I walk in, sometimes I feel like the president because everybody knows me.
Okay, not too much for okay.
Well, I mean, not the real president, but you know what I mean, because the real president is here at the table, the face of Slam North. Watch out, she said that at Slam Miami one day.
Copyright that. I said that once.
You did at Slam Miami. By the way, speaking of that, how was that? You won first place for that video that you did.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Honestly, I definitely I did the video, cool, everything was amazing, I really enjoyed it, but the real credit goes to the AV Club, it goes to Lewis, Mr. Colville. They really did put in all of the work, and you too, you came up with those lines. I could never have been that creative to come
I got bars.
So at the end of the day, I just executed the project that they created, and I was wonderful. I was so happy that they gave me the opportunity to do it.
Shout out for sure to the AV Club, Mr. Manny, Miss Tana, and Mr. Dorado as well. Mr. Dorado, don't be so humble because I know that you're not. So say something about yourself.
Oh, I mean, that project was for sure a team effort. You know what I mean? It wouldn't have been possible without the AV Club's, direction with the music video specifically. I think it was the first time for us doing something like that at that quality. You know what I mean? Especially recording in the way we did in such a small space, and it honestly turned out way better than we could have expected.
Last shout out as well to Mr. Goris because technically it was his idea to do the Fresh Princess. Yes. I would have never really thought about that idea. I just wrote the script, to be honest, the lyrics, but it was Mr. Goris's idea, and then Maria, with her natural talent, she just did what she does. I mean,
to actually add it back on to when we were talking about family, I think. And I'm going to call him by the nickname I always call him by, which is Eddie, because he's more than just a principal at this point. Actually, I get very upset if he's mad at me because it's kind of like a father figure being upset with me, and I hate it when he's mad at me. So, but Eddie definitely has played a tremendous role in me staying here since when the school was first built, because I don't think I would have stayed if he wasn't the principal that he is. Because I've been obviously to another school, and the principals don't really care that much. They just view everyone as a number, and I feel like he really finds the time to accommodate everyone. Like he really gets to know his students. I'm pretty sure he can name every single student in the school.
That's pleasant and scary at the same time, but
Okay, so speaking of accommodations, right? I'm gonna ask Miss Espinoza. So you know how there's quote unquote regular students, right? But what about those students that need accommodations? How does the school help with that?
wow, what a transition that was.
I know, we're good.
I never even thought about that one.
But I love that question because you know what? That's the most challenging thing about being a teacher. A teacher is a psychologist. They work with different personalities. They work with different levels. They are also lawyers. They have to make sure they do everything. And it's the hardest part about being a teacher in the state of Florida. And it's not just Slam North. This is also public schools, and it even goes back to private schools. However, private schools don't follow school law, state laws, because they're private. But going back to, handling different modifications in the classroom, I mean, one thing I have to start is, I have to teach my teachers. Sometimes I have brand new teachers that don't have experience. I also have teachers
similar to myself in my experience, that didn't intend to do education as a career and later on found out that that's their path. And I did not study education at all. I did biology, and then later on I found out that education was my passion. And so there's a lot of that in this industry. And, you know, that's something that you're going to see, that the most passionate instructors, you know, they don't notice it until later on, once they're within it, right? Once they see, you know, the challenges and them overcoming those challenges. But it, you know, like I said, that's the hardest thing about being a teacher, and you have to, you know, I have to provide those trainings to those teachers. I have to be the one that tells them, listen, I know this is the problem that we're given, but here's a solution, and let's see if we can work it this way. And if it doesn't work that way, let's try a different approach. And there is never an education, and this is for every classroom, every student, every teacher, every school. There's no such thing as one size fits all. Whatever you may have done with one student may not have worked with another student. What you may have done with one class may not work with another class. What you guys have learned from one teacher is not going to be the same thing that you learn from a different teacher. There is no such thing as one size fits all, and a lot of it is trial and error. Sometimes you just have to try it, and the hardest part about it is you have to be patient. We are very eager for fixes, but sometimes you need to let the trial run so that you can improve from that on.
I was going to say that what students don't know is that when they call for a teacher's workday, sometimes we actually have to report here. And Miss Espinoza, what she definitely does is the most amazing PowerPoint slides that I've ever seen. Because not only that, your classroom management shows on those days. Because believe it or not, whether you guys believe it or not, the teachers are just as immature sometimes as you guys, the students. Like in fifth period, when you guys, you know, we're friends too.
Yeah, your
and sometimes in the
personality-
class, when Miss Espinoza wants to do her PowerPoint presentation, we get rowdy too. And Miss Espinoza tells us, "Hey, it's time to be quiet."
Yeah,
and that's,
all of
you
your
know,
personalities transition to the teachers. I will say that.
yeah, it's like I'm just like you. I'm more like you guys than I am like administration, to be honest. And then the second point that she brought up is actually true as well. I did not study to be a teacher. I studied to do more of this, which is journalism. Somewhere along the way, I don't know how, I became 30. I turned 30, and I decided, you know what? I don't want to work in an office anymore. I don't want to work for a magazine, which I did before. I worked for Venue Magazine for a little while. And I just decided, let me try teaching. And randomly, little by little, my first year here, a lot of students thought I was going to quit because it was pretty wild. But little by little, it became a passion for me. And I honestly don't remember the last time I clocked out at 2:18. Let's just put it that way. Because to me, after school is just as important as during school hours. It's important to me that students are safe after school. So sometimes you'll see a kid on the soccer team that maybe he never played, but to me it's more important for him to be on a team than to be doing something foolish after school. And that's the way I see it.
Absolutely, they need encouragement. Sometimes, you know, it's easy to get very, and this is another hard. There's so many things that their teachers do, and you guys really, there's a lot that you guys don't see, and they do a lot. And the hardest part, and that this was one of my biggest challenges, is that every single day a kid needs to get a new slate. And sometimes it's so easy to be upset that you want to give them a consequence, but you want to give them the sports that they want to be in, because that's their reward, that's their encouragement. At the end of the day, like, I was very athletic, I did a lot of sports, and I was very fortunate to keep doing a lot of that as I was growing up, because now I'm in my adulthood and I'm used to doing extra things after work, you know. And you want to, those are skills that you guys don't even notice, but being busy after school with something that you enjoy provides life habits in the long run. You know, I was so used to doing after school activities, so my day naturally is always going to be from 6:30 a.m. to almost 5 o'clock, naturally, just because I grew up that way, and those are habits that I enjoyed, I loved, I was motivated by it, and you guys are going to pick up those habits too.
One final compliment from Miss Espinoza. She might be the most competitive person on the staff. We just had.
I do like to win.
We just had a staff softball tournament, and when I tell you that in one of the games, we did win 2 games, by the way, but one of the games we were down like 12-1, and Miss Espinoza was about as fiery as if the game was 1-0 in the final inning with the bases loaded. It was just, I didn't expect that from her, but I learned that day that she's she's not playing around. So.
It comes out when it needs to come out, right? Everything has its time and place, and when you're competing, you're competing.
Exactly. To add on to the point where you said keeping us busy, helping with life habits. Listen, if I'm here doing nothing, I'm bored. I need intellectual stimulation. You know, I need to have my routine,
Also, I
all
mean,
my stuff
you're,
to do.
you're a teacher as well after school, right? Based on what you've told me. So
Yes,
how's that
I
experience?
teach middle schoolers English, but I specifically focus on literature and conversation skills at the North Miami Beach Library.
To continue on with Miss Espinosa and Regina's point. So with me, so I did volleyball in the beginning of the year, and when it was my off season for volleyball, I get out of school at 2:18, so there was no practice. So once I got home, I was so bored, so I had to find something to do. So I looked for a job. So right now, the way softball and my work ethic, my job is clashing, is because I was so impatient and so bored out of my mind. I was like, I have to find something to do. Like, what am I gonna do? So it is like a great work ethic. Like growing onto it's really, really great to find something to do, to keep going with that day and just not be done at 2:18 just during school.
A question I have for all of you as well, because I think it relates to this. Obviously, you're at the point in your life that you're trying to get a job in addition to school, but you're also seniors, and I know Maria's mentioned this as well throughout the year. Seniors get senioritis, so what has that struggle been like, and how do you balance that out? Is that a thing? Maria, start off, because you've been talking about it all year.
I think that is something that I really struggle with because I'm gonna be honest on the podcast. I do miss a lot of school. At least this year, I've been in truancy a couple times, definitely. It's been a little different. My work ethic has not really been here. I've noticed that, not that I've been a little more lazy since last year, but I would say I'm slacking a bit. I wouldn't put the word lazy, but
Just a tad.
slacking. Slacking is a nice word for it. Again, I've been here since like the crack of dawn. I'm sorry.
7 years.
7 years, going strong. Wolves alumni. But it just, sometimes I can find it very hard to wake up with the motivation to actually get up and have that, like, okay, like we're gonna go to school, I'm gonna do my class, and I'm gonna do office aid, and then after that I'm gonna go to work, and I'm gonna have practice, and I'm gonna come back home, and
I think it's in part because
so
you already have a lot of your credits done, right? So a lot of them have office aid for maybe half the day, and it gets like to the point that it's
I have
like
office aid from typically third is my office aid. Fifth period is optional. I have your class, but they do tend to pull me out, and then
it's not
seventh.
optional at all. You need to be here every day.
No. And then seventh period is an official office aid period as well. And on B days, I have my second, fourth, and sixth as office aid. So
That must be nice. I'm not gonna
It
lie. I didn't
is.
have that experience senior year of high school.
It's very peaceful because like if I do ever need time for like throughout college, which I am doing again, I have that time. I have that time to actually sit down and sit with Nicole for any college questions or anything. But when you have that downtime and you really have nothing to do, it gets really lonely. Like it can get very boring.
All right, we have a couple more comments before we head to lunch, but I want Christina to say what she has to say.
So yeah, I remember 11th grade year, and in the beginning of my senior year, I would say, oh no, I'm not gonna get senioritis. I'm so driven, I'm ready to work. This is gonna be the best year. No, that went downhill. Like it started actually last month. My senioritis was so bad, like I actually started missing days like Maria, but I wasn't as so bad as her in truancy. But it's just like the motivation is not really there anymore. It's like, I'm ready to get this over with, like I'm done, like, but you're not. Like senioritis is a real thing. I think you guys should, like, don't be like me and say, oh, you're not gonna get senioritis. Yes, you are, you're gonna get senioritis. But you just have to find something to motivate you, to keep going every day, to have that positive mindset to go to school, to have something to look forward to. So that's what I have to say.
I wanna shift it because I never experienced this one. What is junioritis like, Regina? Because Regina's graduate, like exceptional student. Regina, junioritis. You are graduating this year and you're a junior.
Okay, so
That's
I'm on the same boat as Christina, where some days I'm just like, I don't want to do this. So, very hot take. I also feel the same. where it's like, I really don't want to do this. I wake up at 5:30 in the morning, and I'm like, I want to snooze that alarm. That sounds like an emergency siren. But I just say, you know what? Let's get through this. Let's conquer the day. Let's go. And because of my early graduation, I had to do SATs early in 10th grade, and I had to do a bunch of things early. So sometimes that does contribute to my senioritis. Like, I have so much to do. It's so much pressure to do things and do them well that I just don't end up doing anything.
It's like mentally draining in a sense?
It's mentally draining sometimes, and some of you have heard me, stress.
You're
and
thinking about
see
that
me
Harvard
stress.
life. Harvard life? It is stressful. It definitely is.
It is stressful.
Ms. Espinoza, end it off. How was your high school experience when you were a senior? Did you ever experience senioritis? We're all human. We all did.
I will admit, senioritis is real, 100%. Very similar to Maria, I actually had very, very hard. I had 4 AP classes. So the way my school was block scheduling, and you're with those 4 classes all year long. So it's not just semesterly of how you guys do it. So I did 4 AP classes my senior year, but I also knew I was doing well. I also had all my grades up. Like, I still made honor roll. I still passed my classes. I passed my AP test. So with that being the first thing that I made sure was covered, similar to Maria, I probably missed my first block a lot. I had also a very good relationship. Again, similar to Maria, I know she has great relationships with her teacher. I know she does communicate very well. But I would always be in email conversations with my teacher. Hey, you know what? I'm not going to make it to first block, but is there any assignments that I can catch up on? She was also very cool. I would not have done it if she wasn't like that. And that was my AP literature teacher. So it was an ELA class. It wasn't an easy class. But I loved poetry. I loved analyzing literature. I love reading about like Lord of the Rings and analyzing all the different themes. Like I am a bookworm. But again, like my teacher knew that, so I did get that flexibility. And that's what all of you guys have in common. You guys have a great relationship with the school where you do get those privileges, where you do get those flexibilities. And you guys have worked hard. You guys have worked hard for 3.5 years. Your spring semester of senior year, I'm sorry, it's senioritis. The one thing I will say though, this is that thin line where you just have to be careful to not fall down the slack. Yeah. It is so easy to just be like, whatever, I'll do it tomorrow. Or whatever, I'll just sleep it through today. But that's where some of those habits start to build, because you're always going to have a year or a semester or a month where you're so close to the finish line and you just want to finish. And that's what it is. Senioritis is being close to the finish line. You guys achieved everything that you have. It's just a matter of crossing the finish line. And that's why we slack off, but just be mindful, like you don't want to build habits that end up being long term, because then when you're older and you do get close to a finish line, do you want to just ignore it and look the other way, or do you want to actually be proactive instead of being reactive about it? So I will say that, but of course everyone is allowed to reward themselves once they know they've achieved everything, and there's nothing wrong with that.
All right, we got one final question from my co-host Regina, one final statement from Mr. Roque, and we're probably going to head to lunch after that, but Regina, take it away.
Ms. Espinoza, thank you so much for being here, and thank you for answering all our questions. My last question would be, where do you see the school in 5 years? Like, how do you see the school in 5 years?
Definitely a new building. I definitely see a new building in 5 years. That's just me being optimistic. I'm not saying it's actually happening, but a girl can have a hope, Definitely with a new building. I think, when you ask me 5 years from now, because of the things that I'm specifically working on, like dual enrollment, I'm also working on bringing AP classes and getting some teachers certified in AP. I also see a large list of AP courses to be offered to our students, along with a huge enrollment with Doral College or even Miami-Dade, but we do use Doral College dominantly. But just being able to provide all of that resources and courses for our students, because honestly, you want to be open to everything. You want to be given the opportunity to at least attempt. And by not giving that to you guys, I feel like I would be failing you, because when you go to college, you're still taking AP courses. Now it's just in college, and now you pay for it, right? When you're doing dual enrollment, it's college courses, but for free through high school, you know? We live in we work in a demographic that sometimes these opportunities aren't given to all the students, and I want to be that hope to provide for you guys. Unfortunately, you guys are leaving me next year, but at least in 5 years, that's the opportunity I want to give to all of our students.
Hopefully, it all comes to fruition. I do want to thank Miss Espinosa for being here with us today, because I know that you have a couple people up in detention for no IDs today. Mr. Lazo spoke to us about it in the morning, so he was he was very mad, but it is what it is. So I want to thank you for your time. I want to thank Regina for being an amazing co-host, probably better than the actual host. I want to thank Amy.
I agree with that.
Oh my God.
I still love you though.
On top of the fact that I'm not the president, I'm not even the host anymore.
Girls.
I want to thank the actual president, Miss Maria Mora, for being here with us, and Christina as well. Also want to thank Lucas Carrero, who went on the camera right now, and he sneezed a lot, but either way, want to thank Lucas. And one final thing, two final things I want to say. I did experience senioritis as well. And the second thing I want to say is that my 5th period is still required. So I expect you here every single day.
We can talk about this after the podcast. We're okay.
All right.
No, Mr.
You're going to have to say I'm the real host.
I'll
to skip
pretend
my
I
5th
didn't
period.
hear anything.
I don't know.
Aside from that, we're going to head to lunch, and we'll be back with 7th period later on this afternoon. We'll have a middle school class, 7th period. We'll be back with them.
That was great.
That was good. Good job, ladies. And Lucas. And Lucas. Bueno.
BBC stereophonic sound for the home is recorded on 2 separate tracks, each one giving special emphasis to certain sections of the orchestra, as heard from those positions. Now, when played back simultaneously on 2 separate systems, the sounds are blended together to achieve a new dimension in sound, impossible to obtain in a monaural recording.